Okay, so the thought that occurs to me today is something I've thought about many times over the years in my interaction with Islamic societies and my interaction with Muslim clerics and educated Muslims who are educated in the theology of Islam, and uh, and that's this: they know us better than we know them. Now, there's several layers to that statement, and I'm going to explain that in this video. So when I say they, I'm referring to Islam as a civilization uh, and the guardians of Islamic theology in the Islamic schools and where the theological training takes place. The Muslim clerics around the world who are trained. Uh, these days, they are knowledgeable about the world and about different cultures and how people think. And and so that's when I say they, that's who I mean in general, and that includes the Islamic clerics of the Taliban, the leaders of the Taliban, and other Islamic organizations that you might be familiar with around the world. Uh, Conversely, when I say we, I'm really referring to Americans, and sometimes I'll refine that a little bit. I'll make it clear that I'm referring to the Christian community in America or the evangelical community in America. And I'll define my terms. But in general, in this context, when I say we, I mean we as an American culture and society. Now, we are fragmented, obviously, philosophically. There's a big divide in our country. Uh, but regardless of that, in general, Americans have a a mindset that is similar across the board in terms of uh, modernity and pop culture. Um, Now, there are segments of our society that don't buy into pop culture, but those of us like myself are not influential in any significant way. So really, the pop culture of America is what predominates and what is projected worldwide. And so when the United States projects itself diplomatically, socially, militarily, this pop culture just permeates everything that America projects itself to be, and there's no way around it. Despite what diplomats may want to say in certain circumstances, they choose their words very carefully. But in reality, the pop culture, what America is can be seen by the entire world, and our society and our values and recent changes in our culture and our society and our values. And all this is known and open to the Islamic world and the students of Islam and the clerics and the teachers of Islam who study sociology and politics and cultures. They see what America is. On the other hand, I'll say this outright, without any hesitation: Americans are ignorant about Islam. Even those who are our leaders, who are in politics, and they can give great speeches, when you analyze what they say, they truly don't understand Islamic civilization and the Muslim mindset. And that goes whether left or right. And then you have people that I'm going to do another video about the two extreme views about Islam that we have in the West, and that's another issue aside. Um, but I'll just say very quickly right now that in our society we have people that project themselves as to be knowledgeable and very studious about Islam and relating to Muslims, and a lot of that is very ignorant. And a lot of that is not very well informed. But these are our leaders, and these are the people that project themselves as to be knowledgeable. And then on the other side of the coin, there's a very simplistic attitude that Americans can have about Islam, that Muslims are this way or Muslims are that way. And I'm not going to say what those things are right now because I'm going to do another video about that. The point of this video is that Islamic leaders and clerics understand American culture and understand the American mindset very well. But we, as a society, are ignorant about Islamic society and the Muslim mindset. And we think we're intelligent and well-informed, but we're really not as a culture and a society. I'm not saying that there are many Americans that don't have deep knowledge about what I'm talking about, and much more than I do. I'm sort of on the periphery when it comes to really any kind of academic or intellectual critique that I can give of these things, but I have a lifetime of experience, and I've interacted with academics in many different settings. And so I'm pretty well informed, and I'm much more informed than the average person. And it's hard to have conversations like this with the average person who's informed. So anyway, that's just a little bit of where I'm coming from on that. But the main point is that because they understand us better than we understand them, we don't even know the right questions to ask. We don't even know where to begin to engage in intelligent conversations. And when we try, we stumble and we fall. And we can see that in our American leadership right now today, and what's going on in Afghanistan. And the final withdrawal of the American troops are imminent. The airport is about to be turned over to the Taliban or overtaken by the Taliban, however that takes place. But this was inevitable. Now, how America withdrew, that it confounds us all. How American leadership can do that. Is it ignorance or is it planned? I don't know. It's one or the other, or maybe a combination of both. Who knows? But there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than we realize. And when I listen to the news, I listen in very short periods of time. I don't consume it all day long. Really, I probably consume about 20 minutes at the most. 5 minutes, probably 4 times a day, just as I'm driving. Just enough to get the gist and to hear the tone and the questions and the concerns that the journalists have. It just reinforces the disconnect that I see. And what has happened in Afghanistan over the last 20 years is that the American presence has really created a pseudo modernity and I'll call it American ghetto. They've created American ghettos based on where the military camps are. That really doesn't permeate into the rural areas or the mindset. It doesn't really affect the mindset in totality. So there's been hundreds of thousands of Afghans that have latched on to American culture in the last 20 years because of the American presence in Afghanistan, but it's just evaporating right now because there's no real roots that were there indigenously within the culture, and so Americans leave, American military leaves, that whole thing disappears. That whole subculture of Afghans that love freedom and love America and all these things that are important to us, and we believe that it's really impacting a culture and a society. One more thing, because I think I'm rambling on this one, but I hope that you get the point. So here's one other statement I'm going to make, and you can think about this. So America has only been in existence for 200 years, a little bit more than 200 years. So America really is a blip on the radar screen of history. And I want you to think about that. America is dealing with civilizations that have existed long before the United States ever came into existence. And so the Taliban, although we may want to marginalize them as a fringe group, radicals, terrorists, whatever labels are thrown out at them, they are Islamic clerics with an ideology that existed long before America ever became a nation. And this belief system has existed long before American pop culture has permeated the world. And so Islamic civilization has very deep roots in their belief system. Now they also have their modernism and their new ways of conforming Islamic doctrine to the modern world, but I don't think that's on a solid foundation either, and I don't know if that'll stand the test of time. Anyway, so that's all I have to say about that. They know us better than we know them. And if that means anything to you, I hope that you will do some research and you'll begin thinking about this. And I think that will help you to understand and not get swept up into the emotionalism of the moment and current events and all that sort of thing. Although those things are very important and there's real human tragedies taking place, understand that all these things are part of a much bigger picture and part of a much longer timeline than we as Americans like to think about.